My sister-in-law said, "You're not really family. You're just someone my brother settled for." And I smiled because I'd been waiting 3 years for her to say it in front of everyone. The car wasn't even in park when I spotted my SIL Allison watching us from the living room window, arms folded. That smile she wore, the one that meant she already had something planned for me. "Just try to enjoy yourself tonight," my husband Cain said as he shut off the engine. For 3 long years, I endured my sister-in-law's toxic cruelty, mistakenly believing my husband was caught in the middle. But I was wrong. What I unearthed was a calculated campaign to destroy me, sanctioned by the man who vowed to protect me, and his final betrayal was the loudest silence I ever heard. I wanted to scream, to ask him, "When exactly have I ever had a good time at your parents' house?" But I kept my mouth shut just like I always did. A habit, a reflex, built over years. We walked up the path, his hand resting gently on my back. It used to feel protective, reassuring. Now, it felt like he was just steering me, calmly guiding me, straight into another evening of being torn apart by his sister, Allison. The door swung open before we could even knock. There stood Allison, her eyes raking over me from head to toe. I'd spent an hour picking out a nice dress, trying to look presentable, but she looked at me like I'd shown up in sweatpants. "Finally," she drawled, stepping aside. "Ely, perfect timing. I need help in the kitchen." "No, hello." "No, how are you?" Just an order, like I was hired help. My blood pressure instantly spiked. Cain's parents were in the living room, already settled into their usual roles. His dad, drink in hand, his mom, engrossed in a magazine. Neither looked up. Neither acknowledged Allison's coldness. "The real family can relax in here," Allison announced, waving Cain towards the couch. Then, turning to me with a saccharine smile, "Elise, come on. You finally found something you're useful for." My face burned. Cain squeezed my arm, and when I looked at him, he had that look. Those pleading eyes. The slight shake of his head. The silent message I knew too well. "Please, don't make this a thing. Just keep the peace." I swallowed hard and went to the kitchen. Allison was right behind me, barking orders before I'd even had a chance to wash my hands. "The vegetables need to be cut. The salad needs to be tossed. And try not to mess up the dressing this time," she chirped. "Last week it was way too oily." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. I grabbed a cutting board. This kitchen, big and bright, magazine-worthy. I'd spent more time in it over 3 years than I ever had actually feeling like family. I started slicing carrots, trying to lose myself in the rhythm of the knife. "Focus, Elise. Focus." But Allison was hovering. "Not like that," she snapped, snatching a carrot from my hand. "You're cutting them too thick. Don't you know how to cook?" I adjusted my technique without a single word. "I guess not everyone grows up learning the basics," she purred, her voice dripping like poison. "Cain really should have married someone who knew how to take care of a home." From the living room, I could hear Cain laughing at something his father said. He was 20 feet away. He could probably hear every single word Allison was saying, and he did nothing. I just kept cutting. Allison kept criticizing. The tomatoes were too big, the cucumber too thin, the wrong knife for the peppers. Everything was wrong. Every correction came with that condescending tone, making it crystal clear. She thought I was stupid, useless, and utterly not good enough for her brother. "Speaking of taking care of things," she said, leaning against the counter, suddenly playing nice, "when are you and Cain finally going to give Mom and Dad some grandchildren? They're not getting any younger, you know." The question landed like a physical blow, right in my chest. She knew. She knew Cain and I had been trying. She knew about our struggles, our heartbreak. And she still asked like it was my fault. Like I was failing at yet another thing a wife was supposed to do. "We're working on it," I managed, my voice miraculously steady. She hummed, a sound heavy with judgment. "Well, don't wait too long. Although, honestly, maybe it's for the best. Not everyone is meant to be a mother." I gripped the knife handle so hard my knuckles turned white. I said nothing. How could she? Finally, the food was ready. I helped carry everything to the dining room, Allison directing me like I was a caterer. The family gathered. Cain pulled out my chair. That polite gesture, performative and meaningless after an hour of him ignoring his sister's venom. Dinner began with small talk. Work, weather, some neighbor I'd never met. I ate quietly, contributing only if directly asked, just trying to survive the meal without another ambush. Then Allison cleared her throat. That throat clear. The one that meant she had an announcement. "So, I've been doing some research," she chirped, eyes sparkling with fake innocence. "I found the most amazing resort for a family vacation this summer. Private beach, incredible restaurants, gorgeous rooms." Cain's mother clapped excitedly. "That sounds wonderful." Allison beamed. "I was thinking we could all go together. Me, Mom, Dad, Cain." Her eyes slid to me, a tiny, triumphant smile playing on her lips. "It would be nice to have some quality time with just the immediate family, you know? Really reconnect." I waited. I waited for someone to speak. For Cain's mother to say I was family, too. For his father to include me. For Cain, my husband, to speak up and say, "Of course, my wife is coming." The silence in the room stretched, thick and suffocating. Cain reached for his water, taking a long, deliberate sip, his eyes glued to the tabletop. His parents nodded along, discussing dates and rooms, as if I simply wasn't there, as if I didn't exist. I swallowed the burning anger rising in my throat, picked up my fork. Another Sunday, another evening, another brutal reminder that no matter how many years I'd been married to Cain, no matter how hard I tried, Allison would never see me as family. And apparently, neither would anyone else at that table. That night, something shifted. After another Sunday of being treated like the hired help, I did something I'd never done before. I started a journal. While Cain was in the shower, I sat at my desk and poured it all out. Every cutting comment Allison made. Every time Cain looked away instead of defending me. I wrote it all down. Dates. Times. The next morning, I added the text messages, screenshots saved to a special folder on my phone. Allison thought I was just the quiet pushover, too in love with her brother to ever fight back. She had no idea. I was building something. The next dinner was in 6 days. A plan was slowly forming in my head. I was done being the silent target. Monday morning at work, my mind was a blurry replay of Sunday. Heaven, my closest colleague, walked up with our usual 2 cups of coffee. She stopped dead when she saw my face. "Okay, what happened?" she asked, pulling up a chair. I glanced around, making sure no one was listening, then spilled everything. The kitchen insults, Allison's nitpicking, the vacation exclusion, that awful, gut-wrenching question about grandchildren. Heaven's eyes grew wider with every word. "Wait, wait, wait." Heaven held up a hand. Cain was right there, in the next room, and he didn't say anything. I shook my head. He never says anything. He just gives me this look, like he's begging me not to cause a scene. Heaven leaned back, letting out a long, slow breath. "Elise, this has been going on for 3 years. 3 years of you going to these dinners, getting treated like absolute garbage, and your husband just sits there." Hearing it said aloud, naked and blunt, felt worse than living it. "He thinks if he stays out of it, things will eventually get better," I mumbled, but even to my own ears it sounded weak. Pathetic. "That's not staying out of it," Heaven countered, leaning forward, her gaze piercing. "That's picking a side. He's picking her side every time he stays quiet." I wrapped my hands around the warm coffee cup, not drinking, just holding on. Part of me, a stubborn, hopeful part, wanted to defend Cain. He loved me, I knew he loved me. But loving someone and standing up for them were supposed to be the same thing, weren't they? "Does he even see what she does to you?" Heaven asked, her voice softer now, cautious. "Or does he just not care?" The question hung in the air, heavy and inescapable. I didn't have an answer. I wanted to believe he cared, just that he was terrible at confrontation. I wanted to believe he didn't truly grasp how bad it was. But deep down, a cold, hard truth was starting to solidify. He saw it all. He heard every comment. He just decided that his peace, his sister's peace, was more important than protecting his wife. Heaven squeezed my hand. "You deserve better than this," she said. "You know that, right?" I nodded, but it felt like a lie. 3 years of being told I wasn't good enough, that I didn't belong, that I was lucky Cain had even married me. After a while, you start to believe them. The morning dragged. By lunchtime, I'd made a decision. I was going to call him. Actually talk to him. Not hint, not hope he'd magically understand. I found a quiet corner in the break room and dialed. He picked up on the third ring. "Hey, what's up?" he said, the sounds of his office faint in the background. "I wanted to talk about Sunday," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "About how Allison treated me at dinner." There was a pause. "What about it, Cain?" "She spent the entire time criticizing me," I rushed out. "She made comments about my cooking, about us not having kids, about how you could have done better. Then she planned a whole family vacation and didn't even include me." I waited for an apology, for acknowledgement, for him to say his sister had gone too far. "That's just how she is," he said. My heart sank, a stone plummeting into an abyss. "She's always been like that. You can't take everything so personally." "How am I supposed to take it?" I cried. "She literally said I'm not part of the immediate family." "She didn't mean it like that," Cain replied, and I could hear his keyboard clicking. He wasn't even listening. "You're being too sensitive. Allison just has a strong personality. If you just ignore her comments, she'd probably stop." I closed my eyes, pressing my fingers to my temples. "I've been ignoring her comments for 3 years, Cain. It's only gotten worse." "Look, I have a meeting in 5 minutes," he cut in. "Can we talk about this later? Just try not to let her get to you, okay? I'll see you at home." He hung up, just like that. I stood there, phone still pressed to my ear, listening to the deafening silence. "That's just how she is. You're being too sensitive." The words echoed a damning verdict. I wasn't being sensitive. I was being emotionally abused by his sister. And he watched. He did nothing. Apparently that made me the problem. The workday crawled. Heaven checked on me, and I told her about the call. She didn't say, "I told you so," but her eyes did. By the time I got home, I was bone-tired, a weariness deeper than work. Cain was on the couch, watching TV, smiling like our phone call never happened. "Hey, how was your day?" he asked. Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. "Allison." My stomach clenched. I opened the text. "For Sunday dinner, you need to bring that beef dish from the French place downtown. Recipe is online. And make sure you do it right this time, because we all know you don't contribute much else to this family." I read it twice, not imagining it. She was demanding I cook an expensive, complicated dish, while simultaneously calling me useless. The nerve, the sheer audacious nerve. I walked over to Cain, thrusting the phone at him. "Look at this." He took it, read it. His expression didn't change. Not an ounce. "Okay," he said, handing it back. "So, you'll make the dish. What's the big deal?" "The big deal." My voice rose. "Did you even read what she wrote?" She said, "I don't contribute anything. She's treating me like I'm nothing." Cain sighed, as if I was the unreasonable one. "Elise, just make the dish. It's easier than fighting with her. You know how Allison gets. Do you really want that drama?" I stared at him, waiting. For anything. For him to acknowledge her cruelty. To offer to call her. To show any sign he was on my side. Nothing. He just turned back to the TV, signaling the conversation was over. That's when it hit me. Truly hit me. Like a sledgehammer to the chest. I was utterly alone in this marriage. Cain wasn't neutral. He wasn't stuck in the middle. He was on Allison's side. He always had been. Every keep the peace. Every dismissal of my feelings. Every time he let his sister treat me like dirt without a word. He was making a choice, and he never, ever chose me. I looked at that text again, at those cruel words Allison had put in writing. Something shifted inside me. This wasn't sadness anymore. This wasn't hurt or disappointment, or the desperate hope that if I just tried harder, things would improve. This was clarity. Allison thought she could treat me however she wanted because Cain would never stop her. She was so confident, so brazen, she didn't even hide her nastiness in texts anymore. She put it all in writing, certain there would be no consequences. She was wrong. I saved the screenshot, adding it to my folder. That expensive dish she wanted? I was going to make it. I was going to show up to Sunday dinner with a smile, just like always. But this time I would be ready. The next time Allison came for me, I wasn't just going to sit there and take it. I had a folder full of proof. I had 3 years of patience that had finally evaporated, and I had absolutely nothing left to lose. After that gut-wrenching conversation, I wasn't sad anymore. I was strategic. I called heaven. This time I told her everything. Not just the surface stuff, but the ugly, deep truth I'd been avoiding. She listened, her steady presence a lifeline. "Elise," she finally said, "Cain isn't neutral. He's choosing Allison every single time by doing nothing." She was right. I'd made so many excuses for him, but silence was a choice, and he kept choosing wrong. Allison's confidence had made her sloppy. She was putting her nastiness in texts, thinking there would be no repercussions. That expensive dish? I'd make it, but I was going to make sure this was the last dinner where I just sat there and took it. Next Sunday was going to be different. The next week was unlike any in the past 3 years. I spent hours in the kitchen, perfecting that beef dish, following the recipe until I could make it blindfolded. But I wasn't just preparing food. Every night, after Cain went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with my journal. I practiced. I practiced what I would say. I practiced staying calm. I practiced looking her in the eye instead of staring at my plate. I even practiced in the bathroom mirror, watching my own reflection to make sure I looked confident, not scared. It sounds crazy, I know, but I had to be ready. For 3 years, Allison had caught me off guard. This time, I was the one with a plan. By Wednesday, the dish was perfected, my responses rehearsed, and I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Strong. Then Thursday hit, and everything got so much worse. I was at my desk when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Hey, Elise. This is Cain's aunt from the reunion. Heard things haven't been easy for you and Cain lately. If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here." I stared at it. Things haven't been easy? What had she heard? I texted back, asking what she meant. Her response made my blood run cold. "Oh, honey, Allison mentioned at the last family gathering that you've been having a hard time adjusting to married life. Said you've been difficult lately, causing problems between you two." I read those words again and again, a wave of nausea washing over me. Allison hadn't just been cruel to my face. She'd been talking about me to the extended family, spreading rumors, making me sound like I was the problem in my own marriage. Suddenly, all those awkward family events clicked into place. The cousins and aunts who gave me weird looks. The coldness. I'd blamed myself for years, thinking I just wasn't good at connecting. But it wasn't me. It was Allison, poisoning everyone against me before I even had a chance to speak. I was still in shock when Heaven came over with our coffees. She saw my face, pulled up a chair. "What happened?" I showed her the text. Her eyes went wide. "Are you kidding me? She's been spreading rumors about you." I nodded, unable to speak. Heaven handed back my phone, a strange look on her face. "Okay, I wasn't sure if I should say this," she started slowly, "but I think you need to know. I ran into Cain's cousin, Matt, yesterday at a coffee shop." My heart hammered. "What did he say?" Heaven took a deep breath. Your name came up. He said Allison told him you've been trying to isolate Cain from his family, that you don't want him spending time with them, that you're making him choose. All the air left my lungs. She said, "What?" "She's been telling people you're the one causing problems," Heaven confirmed, squeezing my hand. "Making you look like the bad guy this whole time. Matt was genuinely shocked when I told him you go to every single family dinner, and Allison treats you like garbage. He had no idea." I fell back in my chair, mind reeling. This was so much bigger. Allison wasn't just cruel. She was running a campaign. Behind my back, turning everyone against me, all while I smiled and tried to keep the peace. Every time I thought I was being the bigger person, she was using my silence as ammunition, telling everyone I was difficult, controlling, while I was in her kitchen, doing exactly what she told me. And the worst part, it had worked. All those family members, cold and distant, who always took Allison's side, who looked at me like an outsider even after 3 years of marriage. They believed her. They believed every single lie. I left work early. Not feeling well, I told my boss, and it wasn't a lie. My stomach churned. I drove home, hands shaking on the steering wheel. Cain was already there, working on his laptop. He looked up, that easy smile, the one that used to make me feel safe. "You're home early," he said. "Everything okay?" I stood in the doorway, looking at the man I'd married, my partner, my protector, and I asked the question I dreaded. "Did you know that Allison has been telling people I'm difficult? That I'm causing problems in our marriage? That I'm trying to isolate you from your family?" Cain's face changed, a subtle flicker, but I saw it. He knew. He already knew. "Elise," he started, that careful tone he used when trying to manage me. "Where is this coming from?" "Just answer the question." I cut him off, my voice raw. "Did you know?" He closed his laptop, and he sighed. That sigh, it told me everything before he said a word. "I heard some things," he admitted, avoiding my gaze, "but I didn't want to make things worse by bringing it up. You were already upset about how Allison treats you at dinner. I thought if I mentioned the other stuff, it would just make you more stressed." I couldn't believe it. "You knew your sister was spreading lies about me, and you didn't think I deserved to know." My jaw dropped. "They're not lies, exactly," Cain tried to backtrack. "She's just sharing her perspective. She thinks you don't like her, and sometimes perception becomes reality." "Her perspective?" I repeated, incredulous. "Her perspective is that I'm trying to steal you away from your family? That I'm the problem? Cain, I go to every single family dinner. I cook whatever she asks. I take every insult, every criticism, with a smile, because you asked me to keep the peace. And you're telling me you knew she was saying these things, and you just let it happen." He stood, tried to reach for me. I stepped back. "I was trying to protect you," he said. "I thought if you didn't know, it wouldn't hurt you." "Protect me?" I laughed, a bitter, humorless sound. "How is letting your sister destroy my reputation protecting me? How is letting everyone in your family think I'm the villain protecting me? You weren't protecting me, Cain. You were protecting yourself. You were avoiding a hard conversation with your sister because that was easier than standing up for your wife." He had no answer. He just stood there, that helpless expression, as if he was the victim, as if I was being unfair. And that's when it all clicked. Allison hadn't just been cruel to my face for 3 years. She'd been running a full-scale operation behind my back, turning every family member against me, making sure if I ever tried to speak up, no one would believe me. It was calculated, deliberate, and Cain had let it happen. He'd watched his sister destroy his wife's reputation with his own family. He'd done nothing, because confrontation was uncomfortable. He'd known about the lies, and he chose to keep them from me, not to protect me, but to avoid dealing with the mess. All those times I'd question myself, wondering why I couldn't connect, wondering what I was doing wrong. 3 years I'd spent thinking I was the problem, when all along, Allison was making sure I'd always be the outsider, I walked past Cain into our bedroom and closed the door. I pulled out my journal, adding this new, bitter knowledge to the growing pages of evidence. The lies, the rumors, the full-blown campaign against me. And Cain knowing, saying nothing. 47 documented incidents in 8 months. Text saved. Witnesses noted. Sunday dinner was in 2 days. This time when Allison came for me, I wasn't going to be silent. I was going to be ready. The lies hit differently than the insults. Insults I could try to ignore, brush off, pretend they didn't hurt. But Allison poisoning everyone against me while I smiled and made nice? That was a whole other beast. And Cain knew. He knew and said nothing, because standing up for me was too uncomfortable for him. Heaven called me before bed. Just leave him, Elise, she urged. Pack your stuff. Walk away. Maybe she was right. Maybe that was the smart thing to do. But first, I needed everyone to see who Allison really was. Sunday dinner. 2 days. This time I was ready. Sunday arrived faster than I expected. Or maybe it just felt that way, because I'd spent every waking moment preparing. I woke up feeling different. No dread, no shaking hands. Just a calm, steady resolve. I was finally ready to do what I should have done years ago. I spent the morning meticulously cooking that beef dish. It looked like it belonged in a Michelin star restaurant. Cain watched me pack it up. He hadn't mentioned our fight from Thursday. He'd been walking on eggshells, but he still hadn't apologized. He still hadn't called Allison. He was just waiting for things to blow over, like they always did. The drive was quiet. Cain tried to make small talk about work, a show he was watching. I gave short answers, staring out the window. He had no idea what was coming. Neither did Allison. We pulled into the driveway. I grabbed the dish, holding it carefully. My heart hammered, but my hands were steady. I'd practiced for this. I was ready. The door opened, Allison, of course. Her eyes went straight to the dish. Well, well, she purred, stepping aside. Looks like Elise finally learned to cook something decent. Honestly shocked it didn't come out looking like a mess. Cain's parents were already there. His mother adjusting napkins. His father pouring a drink. They looked over at Allison's comment. I waited for someone to say something, to defend me, to tell her she was rude. His mother just offered that tight, practiced smile. His father chuckled along with Allison, like it was the funniest thing. She's been practicing all week, Cain offered, almost to the air. I couldn't tell if he was trying to defend me or just make conversation. Either way, it didn't help. Practicing. Allison's eyebrows shot up. For one dish? Guess some people need more help than others. She laughed. His parents laughed. And Cain pulled out his phone, scrolling, as if he hadn't heard a thing. I carried the dish to the kitchen, setting it down. Took a deep breath. This was exactly what I expected. This was what always happened. But tonight, it was going to end differently. Dinner began. Small talk. Passing dishes. I served the beef. Allison dramatically examined hers before taking a bite. Not bad, she announced, feigning surprise. I mean, it's not as good as the restaurant version, but I guess it's fine for someone who doesn't really know what she's doing in a kitchen. Cain's mother nodded. His father kept eating. And Cain, my husband, the man who promised to love and protect me, he scrolled on his phone under the table, completely disengaged. I ate my food. Said nothing. Not yet. I knew Allison. She always built up to her biggest attacks. Test the waters. See how much she could get away with. Then go in for the kill. I just had to wait. Golf. Guest rooms. Allison, discussing her family vacation, still excluding me. I sat there, invisible. Then she put down her fork. Looked right at me. That smile, the one that meant pure, unadulterated cruelty, was about to erupt. You know, she said, her voice carrying. I was just thinking about this the other day. Cain, remember that girl from college? The one who went to law school. Cain looked up from his phone, a flicker of confusion. What? You know who I mean. Allison pressed. So smart, so driven. I always thought you two would end up together. Mom and Dad loved her. His mother chimed in. She was lovely. Very accomplished, right? Allison turned back to me, eyes sharp, a predator closing in. I'm just saying, Cain could have done so much better. Don't you think? She looked directly at me. No hint, no subtlety. Right to my face. In front of everyone. The table went silent. His parents stopped eating. Cain's hand froze over his phone. Everyone was looking at me, waiting for me to cry, like that dinner 2 years ago when she mocked my job, waiting for me to run, hide in the bathroom, like when she insulted my family's finances, waiting for me to just take it, swallow it down, be the quiet, easy target I'd always been. Slowly I put down my fork. I wiped my mouth with my napkin. Then I did something I'd never done. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone. Actually, Allison, I said, my voice calm, clear, not shaking at all. I think it's time everyone heard what you really think of this family. Her smile flickered. Just for a second. She wasn't sure what was happening. Excuse me, she tried, forcing amusement. But I heard the uncertainty. She'd spent 3 years watching me crumble. She had no idea how to handle this. I've been keeping track, I said, holding up my phone. Every text you've sent me, every cruel thing you've said, every lie you've told about me to the rest of the family. I looked around the table, at Cain's parents, at Cain. Allison's face was turning pale. Did you know Allison has been telling everyone I'm difficult? That I'm trying to isolate Cain from his family? That I'm the problem in my own marriage? Cain's mother's forehead furrowed. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the truth, I stated. The truth Allison hides behind her sweet act while she tears me apart. And I'm done being quiet. Allison forced a nervous laugh. Elise, this is so dramatic. I don't know what you think you have. But this isn't the time or place for this. No, I shook my head. This is exactly the time and place. You chose this dinner table to humiliate me, week after week. So this is where everyone finds out who you really are. Cain finally spoke, that warning tone. Elise, come on. Let's not do this right now. I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw exactly what I expected. Fear, not for me, not for my pain, not that she had gone too far. Fear that his comfortable life was about to get messy. Fear that he might actually have to pick a side. You've been telling me not now for 3 years. I spat. Not now when she mocks me in the kitchen. Not now when she excludes me from family plans. Not now when she tells everyone I'm the villain. Well, guess what? Now is happening, whether you like it or not. I turned back to Allison. Her knuckles were white, gripping her wine glass. Let's start with the texts, I said, unlocking my phone. I think everyone deserves to know what you really say when you think no one is watching. The look on Allison's face, the way her fake smile twisted into something ugly and panicked. It was worth 3 years of garbage. She let out a nervous, shaky laugh. Oh, please, Elise. You're not going to sit here and make up stories. Her voice lacked conviction. Cain started, Elise, maybe we should talk about this at home. But I was done. Done protecting their comfort at the cost of my dignity. Done making myself smaller. I had screenshots. Every cruel text for 3 years. The voicemail she'd left calling me a gold digger. 3 years of receipts. And a table full of people about to learn exactly who they'd been defending. This was it. The moment. Allison's mask was coming off. I scrolled to the first text. Held my phone up, though I'd read it aloud anyway. This is from 6 months ago, I said, my voice steady. Allison texted me and said, make sure you bring dessert to dinner on Sunday, since we all know you can't handle anything more complicated than that. I looked at Cain's mother. That was the week I made the entire meal by myself, because Allison told me you weren't feeling well and needed help. His mother's face went utterly still. "I never said I needed help," she murmured. But I was already moving on. "Here's another from 4 months ago." I scrolled. "Cain deserves someone who actually comes from a good family, not whatever trailer park situation you crawled out of." Direct quote, by the way. She sent that after the dinner where she asked about my parents, and I told her they passed away when I was young. The room was so quiet I could hear the clock ticking. Allison's face was beet red, jaw tight, hands gripping the table. "Those are taken out of context," she hissed. "You're twisting my words." "Am I?" I tilted my head. "Let me read a few more, and you can tell me what context makes them okay." I kept going, text after text, watching the faces around the table morph with each revelation. The one calling me a gold digger. The one saying I was too stupid to realize I was being insulted. The one laughing about making me cry at Christmas dinner 2 years ago. But the best one, the one I'd saved, was still coming. I paused, looking at Cain's parents. Truly looking. They'd spent 3 years watching their daughter treat me like garbage. Never a word. Laughed at her jokes. Nodded along. Pretended not to notice when she made me feel like nothing. I wondered if they'd keep defending her now. "This next one is interesting," I said, scrolling. "Allison sent this last month, after the dinner where you both agreed with her that I should clean up the kitchen by myself. She was thanking me for being such an easy target. And then she said this." I took a breath and read the words out loud. Thank God Mom and Dad are such useful idiots. They take my side every single time without even thinking about it. All I have to do is smile, and they believe whatever I tell them about you. It's almost too easy. The silence that followed wasn't just uncomfortable. It was pure shock. Cain's mother clapped a hand over her mouth. His father's face turned a dangerous, dark red. For the first time, he looked truly, genuinely angry. "What did you just say?" he thundered. "Not at me. At Allison. She's lying." Allison shrieked, her voice high and fast. "I never wrote that. She made it up. She probably edited those screenshots. You know how easy it is to fake texts." She looked around desperately, pleading for someone, anyone, to take her side. "This is crazy. You're all going to believe her over me? I'm your daughter." Cain's mother stared at Allison as if seeing a stranger. "Did you really say that about us?" Her voice was small, wounded. "Of course not." Allison slammed her hand on the table. "She's making this whole thing up because she can't handle that nobody in this family likes her. She's been trying to turn everyone against me since the day Cain brought her home." I opened my mouth to respond, but someone else spoke. A voice I didn't expect. Everyone turned to the doorway. Matt, Cain's cousin, whom I'd only met a handful of times. I didn't even know he was coming. He must have arrived quietly, let himself in through the back. He walked slowly into the dining room, his gaze fixed on Allison, an unreadable expression on his face. "I ran into Elisa's friend at a coffee shop last week," he said, his voice measured. "She told me some things that made me think. So I started paying more attention to what Allison was saying about Elise when she wasn't around." Allison's face went even paler. "Matt, this is none of your business." "You told me Elise was trying to isolate Cain from the family," Matt continued, ignoring her. "You told me she was controlling, difficult, that Cain was miserable but too nice to leave her. You told me all kinds of stuff, and I believed you, because you're family and I had no reason not to." He shook his head slowly. "But none of it was true, was it? You were just saying whatever you needed to say to make everyone hate her." Allison shot up, her chair scraping loudly. "This is ridiculous. I'm not going to sit here and be attacked by my own family." "No one is attacking you," I said, my voice steady. "I'm just telling the truth. Something you should try sometime." The look she gave me was pure, unadulterated hatred. The mask was utterly gone. This was the real Allison, the one she'd hidden behind that sweet smile for years. The one who called her parents useful idiots. The one who destroyed my reputation for fun. The one who made me feel worthless and alone in my own marriage, while my husband did nothing. Speaking of my husband, I looked at Cain. He'd been silent through it all. His phone was finally off the table, hands clasped. His eyes darted between me and Allison like a spectator at a tennis match. I waited for him to say something, to finally, after 3 years, stand up, tell his sister she was wrong, apologize for looking the other way, to choose me just once over keeping the peace. Everyone at the table waited. His parents, Matt, even Allison, probably expecting him to smooth things over. Cain cleared his throat. He opened his mouth, and the words that came out shattered whatever was left of my heart. "Elise," he said, slowly, carefully, as if talking to a tantrum-throwing child, "this isn't the time or place for this." I stared at him. After everything I'd just shared, after all the texts, after his own cousin confirmed Allison's lies, after his parents heard their daughter call them useful idiots, after all of that, the only thing Cain had to say was that this wasn't the time or place. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, my voice cracking, not from sadness, but from pure, absolute disbelief. This man, the man I married, the man I defended to friends who told me I deserved better, this much of a coward. "I just think we should talk about this privately," he mumbled, glancing at his embarrassed parents. "This is a family dinner. We don't need to air all our problems in front of everyone." "Our problems," I repeated. "Cain, your sister has been making my life miserable for 3 years. She's been lying to everyone in your family about who I am. She literally called your parents idiots in a text message, and you're worried about making dinner awkward." He held up his hands, trying to calm me down. "I'm just saying, this could have been handled differently. You didn't have to do this in front of everyone. We could have talked to Allison privately and worked things out." Something clicked into place in my chest. Something final. This was who he was. This was who he'd always been. Not a man caught in the middle. Not a man who loved me but couldn't handle conflict. He was a man who would watch his wife be destroyed rather than have an uncomfortable conversation. He was a man who would tell me I was overreacting while his sister called me trash. He was a man who would never, ever choose me. I pushed my chair back. The scrape echoed in the silent room. "You're right," I said, looking straight at Cain. "There's never a good time for you to choose me." I picked up my purse. My hands weren't shaking. My voice wasn't breaking. I felt a calm I hadn't known in years. "So I'm done waiting." I walked around the table, past Cain's mother, still staring at Allison in shock, past his father, looking lost, past Matt, who gave me a small, respectful nod. Allison hissed something as I passed her, dramatic, making a scene. I didn't even look. She didn't matter anymore. None of them did. I stopped at the dining room doorway, turned back one last time. Cain was frozen, like he couldn't believe I was actually leaving. Like he'd watched me take it for so long, he'd forgotten I had an option to go. "I loved you," I said to him. "I loved you enough to put up with all of this for 3 years, because I thought you'd eventually stand up for me. But you never did, and now I know you never will." I turned, walked through the living room, past the family photos where I'd never truly belonged, past the couch where I'd felt invisible and worthless through countless dinners. I opened the front door, stepped out into the cool evening air. Behind me, voices erupted. Allison shouting I was crazy. Cain's mother asking if the texts were real. His father demanding a serious conversation. And Cain finally calling my name. Too late, as if he just realized what he was losing. I closed the door, walked to my car. The keys were in my hand before I registered it. I unlocked the door, got in. Just sat there for a moment, hands on the wheel, looking at the house where I'd spent 3 years trying to earn a place I was never going to get. The front door burst open. Cain ran out, panicked, shouting my name. But I was already turning the key. already putting the car in reverse, already choosing myself for the first time in 3 years. I backed out of the driveway, drove away, didn't look in the rearview mirror. Whatever chaos was exploding in that house, whatever fallout Allison faced, whatever Cain was going to say to try and fix this, none of it was my problem anymore. For the first time since I married into that family, I felt like I could truly breathe. What a ride. I still replay that night sometimes. Tell me, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done differently? Have you ever had to choose yourself over a relationship? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd really love to hear them.